Oh, I can only imagine some of the things Jerry Jones has done to try to finagle luck in his favor. And as it relates to his business interests, it has worked. As it relates to his football team, we are in an extended drought as it relates to appearances in the conference championship game. It goes all the way back to 1995. Hadn't thought of this idea that putting Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor would somehow create good luck, good karma for Jerry Jones, who has been ridiculously stubborn. You know, as the moment lingered on Sunday in the Fox pregame show between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson, who inexplicably was in Charlotte instead of in L.A. in the Fox studio, like, it immediately became odd and strange that these two friends turned foes were now standing there with Fox stick mics talking directly to each other and ignoring the fact that a camera was in the room. And it just went on and on and on until we learned that Jimmy Johnson will indeed be put into the Ring of Honor on December 30, 1923, as Jerry Jones said, before Jimmy Johnson corrected him. But Charean, I just am shocked at this sudden turn, because it was just late July where Jerry was making this clumsy case for continuing to wait. I'd love to know what caused him between late July and mid-November to change his mind.
Well, he says that it goes back to backlash from DeMarcus Ware going in, that it wasn't fair to DeMarcus Ware because people were talking about Jimmy Johnson should be in. But I think it was, and I know they talked to him, Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin, and perhaps there were other former players too, about Jimmy needing to go in the Ring of Honor. This is something that needed to happen. Look, I presented Jimmy Johnson for the Hall of Fame when he was in the class of 2020. And, you know, I've had many conversations with him, and I know how much this meant to him. Of course, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is bigger, but the fact that he wasn't in the Cowboys Ring of Honor was a really big deal to him. And he wanted to go in, and he should have been in, and he should have gone in a long time ago. So I haven't talked to him since Jerry made the announcement, but I know he's really, really happy to be going in, and I know he feels like that it's overdue that he goes into the Ring of Honor. But this is something that happened pretty quickly, Mike, because Jerry likes to use the word impromptu, meaning impromptu. This was impromptu almost. And the Ring of Honor is not something in the past that he's done impromptu. Like, it's always been well thought out before the season. Hey, on this date, we're going to put this player in. So I do think it was something more recent than DeMarcus Ware's going into the Ring of Honor. And I do think it was Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin, and again, perhaps some other former players, who convinced Jerry that this needed to happen. And it needed to happen now, with Jimmy 80 years old and Jerry 81 years old. And the interesting thing to me, Mike, is now there's only one Cowboys Hall of Famer who's not in the Ring of Honor, and that's Jerry Jones.
Well, and yeah, he'll put himself in whenever he sees fit, or that'll be the first act when, you know, Jerry Jones is no longer able to put himself in, when you know, it's going to come for all of us at some point. And it is amazing to me, and maybe I'm just not as competitive as they are. It's amazing to me that they care so much about things like that ultimately change your life in not a single way. It doesn't change what you accomplished. It's just some external exclamation point on your accomplishments, where if you know what you've done, if you know how you've lived, how you've worked, how you've succeeded, do you need someone else to put the punctuation on it? Or do you just take solace in knowing what you've done? Do you need someone else to show you what you've done and kiss your ass for what you've done? Or do you just say, I know what I've done? I'm surprised Jimmy Johnson wanted it that badly. He seems like the type who would say, I don't care. I know what I did. I got my rings. I know who built that team that won Super Bowl 30. I don't need Jerry Jones to buy, letters that spell out my name and put them along the edge of the stadium. I don't need that to have validation. I have my own validation.
I think most of us like that validation, Mike, and I think he really wanted it from Jerry. I think he wanted Jerry to recognize him for what he did for those teams in the 1990s. And look, I've seen the contract. I know what was written in Jimmy's contract. He had all the personnel decisions. He was in charge of personnel. He had final say in personnel. So as much as Jerry wants to say that he helped build those teams, that was Jimmy's team. And you're right, the 1995 team was a team that Jimmy built as the GM of the Cowboys. So I think he wanted Jerry to recognize what he did in building those three teams, and the fact that they haven't been back since 1995 makes it even bigger. So he's gotten that now. I hope this helps the relationship thaw. Despite what they said in that togetherness in Carolina, there was a chill in their relationship. They didn't like each other for a really long time. And I hope they get back to being friends, because their relationship goes well beyond the Cowboys back when they played together at Arkansas. So I hope they're friends again, and I hope this can really thaw out that chill that was between them for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, and the basic resentment from Jones toward Johnson is, I think Jones believed Johnson didn't properly respect Jones' role in helping build that team, that Johnson wanted all the credit, that Jerry did some of the work too, that he's just not riding sidecar to Jimmy Johnson, and that, you know, you got a bunch of prideful, ego-driven guys that they you know, everybody wants to be the ultimate alpha in the room. And between the two of them, it was an ego arm wrestling match, and ultimately Jerry wins it because he's the one who decides who gets in the Ring of Honor and who doesn't. So he has a moment where he, for whatever reason, decides to be magnanimous and let Jimmy Johnson in. And maybe he just realized how ridiculous it looked. And that stupid argument he made back in July, well, I've got other coaches that should go in too. Oh, really? Who? Who? Barry Switzer? You know, and think about it. Jimmy Johnson built a team that was so good it could win a Super Bowl despite Barry Switzer being the head coach. That is impressive. That is special. That's more impressive than Jimmy Johnson coaching the team to a Super Bowl when he built a team that was Barry Switzer-proof and won a Super Bowl with him as the head coach. All due respect to Barry Switzer. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.